evening, everyone. It's Paulie. I hope you're all well. It's Friday. Yay. How have you all been? What's new? What's happening? Do you have plans for the weekend? Have you survived? So this evening, let me just take off that screen. So this evening we're going to do basically a live stream on my top 10 all-time favourite movies. I see I got some amazing feedback and engagement from some of you when I was talking about my top 10 science fiction films. I got some great suggestions and also some great ones that I left off the list. Once again, thank you to Matt and Donna for that. So tonight I'm just going to run through the list and sort of explain why I like them. Now I will just say that not all these movies are for all audiences. There are some that are rated for audiences over the age of 18 due to the nature of the film, such as the one that's on the background there. But in short, if I've missed any or if there's something on your top 10 list, comment below, and we might bring that up from 11 to 20 because it might be on my 11 to 20 list, and we'll go from there. So the first one, of course, is the classic Francis Ford Coppola Apocalypse Now. Now, not to be confused with the TV series Acropolis Now. This one is, of course, starring Martin Sheen, filmed in 1979. It's got a very young Dennis Hopper. It's got Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall. It's got a very, very young, Harrison Ford. Star-studded cast, and it follows the Martin Sheen character here as he goes on a secret mission inside the Vietnam War. Now, this film is I wouldn't compare it to Full Metal Jacket in the sense of the themes that it's trying to portray, but this does, it's a very dark film, and it does ask a lot of questions that about yourself and about man and who we are at the end of the film. But despite all that, the cinematography is phenomenal. I understand they spent over a year filming it. There were whole helicopter crews. Nothing is CGI in this. It's all real life action, and these scenes are just phenomenal. And of course, you empathise with the Vietnamese of people, what they're going through as well, and it sort of does shed a light to that. So it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it now, if you're under 18, probably check with your parents first, but this is a great movie. Now next, something a bit lighter, Casablanca. Now, I know what you're thinking, it's black and white. Yes, it is black and white. It was filmed in 1942 during World War II. And of course, it's got the famous Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, and it's about an American expatriate that's stuck in, of course, Casablanca, North Africa. A beautiful love story. Yes, it is black and white, but still the cinematography is fantastic. The story, the acting, it is what you'd call a classic Hollywood movie. And it's got a lovely ending at the end. You'll notice a lot of the social changes that have taken place since. There's a common reference, Play It Again, Sam, which is from the movie, and Sam, of course, is the pianist there. And this is, of course, back when a time when civil rights weren't granted to everyone. So a great look back at history, at World War II, and how love was able to sort of blossom in between all that. Next, this is, of course, a cult classic for many reasons, but Brian De Palma's Scarface from 1983. This is a thrill ride. It's a roller coaster, this film. You for some reason grow attached to this Tony Montana character who is doing heinous things, but you somehow empathize with this character, and it gives you a look into the migration and issues during the late 70s and early 80s in Miami and around Cuba. And there was a mass migration, and they all came across to America, and of course Miami, and this follows the dreams and wishes of one Tony Montana to try and make it big in America. So many classic phrases that come from this movie. Of course, Say Hello to My Little Friend when he's executed, when he's got a machine gun at the end. The World Is Yours, Classic soundtracks, just cult 80s classic. Of course, Al Pacino, his role in this is synonymous. It's sort of the gold standard when they want to make a gangster movie. It's based off something like Scarface. And I guess you could look at New Jack City is sort of a Wesley Snipes, an urban version for the African American community, where he sort of did the same thing, but in New York. And there's been a lot of rip-offs in the many years. I guess Fast and Furious, when they went down to Miami, it was based off some sort of Tony Soprano character. Next, this is another cult classic, probably more of a cultural, probably closer to the urban hip-hop culture, and this is Belly. Now, the storyline isn't the best. The actors are all rappers, so they're not really actors. However, the director, Hype Williams, is possibly, if not one of the top 5 cinematographers and directors of all time. His music video clips are, they're 3-minute cinematic masterpieces. Any classic hip-hop music video from the late 80s, early 90s, early 2000s, and even the 2010s is from Hype Williams. Modern directors such as Director X, they're inspired by Hype Williams. So this movie just is it's aesthetically it is one of the most amazing movies, but yeah, as I mentioned, plot-wise and acting, it's not the deepest. If you're a fan of 90s culture, I mean, you get to see a couple of great rappers, DMX, Nas, Terrell Hicks, who was also in a couple of other movies such as New Jersey Drive maybe, and his famous one he was Old Dog in, I can't remember them. But anyways, yeah, great movie, classic for the culture. Next, of course, is The Wizard of Oz, the original 1939 Wizard of Oz. What really blew me about this, apart from being a great musical and translated well onto film, was the technologies that they used at the time to actually make this film. This was at a time when colour film wasn't it wasn't common. Most things, as you'll see with Casablanca, were filmed in black and white. But to have not only colour cinema, but with a surround sound, prior to this, I think many of the movies would have a band or orchestra up the front that would play the soundtrack, Buster Keaton and whatnot. But this had evolved to colour, full stereo audio, and it is absolutely magical. Kids today can still enjoy it. Just a fantastic movie, fantastic story. It can be retold. You've seen it in plays if you haven't already done one at school that was a Wizard of Oz play or something. But yeah, just a classic. Next, of course, going back to my sci-fi roots, anything in the Star Trek series. Anything in the Star Trek series. I'm talking old movies, new movies, the TV show, the new TV shows, Deep Space. If there's some other geeks out there, let us know what other... Picard, the new one. They're all fantastic. For me, it's the sense of hope, how humans come to evolve and our better instincts and natures prevail, and we start to achieve some of the great things that hopefully we get to achieve, such as 3D printing was in this, teleportation, faster than light travel. So many things that were referenced in the early TV show are now commonplace technology, such as their communicators are essentially your mobile phones today. So it's revolutionary for its time, and it's inspiring for those people that believe that the human race is destined for great things. So, and there's not too many scary aliens in this, which is good. So yeah, this is suitable for kids as well. Next, of course, if you didn't grow up in the 80s, of course you know Ferris Buellers Day Off. This is a classic movie. The storyline, the acting are phenomenal in this. Matthew Broderick, his breakout role, plays a high schooler. Absolutely, he's ditching high school. He uses modern technology and takes he uses modern technology to scam to tell the school that he's not at home and to fool his parents. Meanwhile, he takes out two of his closest friends on the best day of their lives, which could also end up to the worst day of their lives. But Ferris Buellers Day Off, cult classic, just a great movie, lots of laughs. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, go check that out. There are a couple of old references, but overall you'll enjoy it, and you may actually get some ideas. If you're going to school, I mean, of course you're not going to school now, but if you're trying to dodge school, you're a student, watch this. You'll get some great ideas on how you can maybe, because modern technology's there now, so you'll see what I'm talking about. Next, of course, another 80s classic is Wall Street. This is the original Wall Street with Charlie Sheen and Michael Douglas, once again directed by Oliver Stone. And this, of course, tells the story of a up-and-coming stockbroker actually it was filmed during the 1987 stock market crash and bubble. And it's just essentially a story about greed. It's a phenomenal movie. It looks into the excesses of the 80s and, I guess, capitalist society. But it also has a humbling story, and it's good to see Martin and Charlie acting together. So I've just realised that's two movies now with Martin Sheen. Yeah, fantastic movie. Michael Douglas he's got a speech in this where he's in a town hall. I won't go too far into it, but he's got a speech that just gives you chills. And if you're a salesman or a real estate agent or someone looking to get ahead, watch this movie, because he is ruthless. He's brilliant in this role. Yeah, lots of other great names and whatnot that you'll see in there. Okay, we're coming up to the last couple now. This one, of course, Schindler's List. This one had me in tears and crying like a baby. I don't think I could ever empathise with what has happened to those people, but my grandparents, the Jewish people during the war in Germany and whatnot, but my grandparents have told me stories, and they were in Ukraine. And while they weren't put in camps and mistreated like everyone else in Europe and Poland, they did tell me stories about some of their friends that were taken away, and it's just a really touching story. And once again, this is it's on an industrialist. What's his name? He runs a factory. One sec. It's played by Liam Neeson. Let me find it. Oskar Schindler. I don't know if I've just butchered his name or not, but he runs a factory, and it once again shows you how amongst the dark world there can still be someone with a ray of sunlight trying to beam through and do the right thing. And actually, I'll quote what Charles, one of my friends, had mentioned. His mum mentioned to him. She says, "Don't let the world change your smile. Let your smile change the world." And this movie embodies that perfectly. Ben Kingsley, Ralph Fiennes, Liam Neeson. Yeah, set in 1939, but filmed in 1993. And if you need to have some sort of emotional blockage released, or you're just you enjoy crying, this movie will get 2 boxes of tissues. Or actually, no, tissue short. Get a handkerchief or something you can recycle and reuse. And this is absolute. It's a touching movie, beautiful. Last one. Now, a lot of people are going to be. This is a very controversial movie. Pulp Fiction. Some may think it's a terrible movie. The production value is not. I don't think they spent a lot of money filming it. It's not filmed in any fancy locations. I don't think John Travolta had too many career options at the time. Not that I'm one to talk, but it was revolutionary for the time. The way it was written and delivered on screen. Think what you like of Tarantino. He does have a completely unique style of filmmaking. And if anything, it does evoke emotion, no matter who you are. And whether it's his current films, such as Django Unchained, or what's the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or if it's some of his older, like, as I mentioned, Pulp Fiction, or you know the rest. But just this movie, it once again came at a time when it couldn't be more different from everything else on cinema. The cinematography, the casting, the writing, the way the actors portrayed their roles, the dancing scene in this, the fashion, and once again, yeah, the cast. That is one thing I do like about Quentin Tarantino. He does use a lot of the same cast in his movies. And Jackie Brown, sorry, there's another one. While they are the same cast, they can play completely different roles. Harvey Keitel in this is completely different from Harvey Keitel in Reservoir Dogs. Or, once again, as I mentioned, what's that first one he did? Not Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. There was one he actually, I think he wrote and directed before this, and it had Christian... Oh, I'm going to have to look that up and IMDb it later. But yes, great movie, Pulp Fiction. That rounds off my top 10, guys. I'm sorry if I bored you to death. I've got to finish my dinner. But I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've all had a interesting time following me. If you've got any comments or suggestions on what I can do next or stream next, let us know. Apart from that, please continue to stay safe, stay well, stay sane, keep smiling, and most of all, stay awesome. Peace out.